Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
Thanks to TriBooth, the best vocal booth for home or on-the-road voice recording. And Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Introducing Robert Marshall from Source Elements and Someone Audio Post, Chicago. Darren Robbo Robertson from Voodoo Radio Imaging, Sydney. Tech to the VO stars, George the Tech Whittam from LA. And me, Andrew Peters, voiceover talent and home studio guy.
Line up, learner!
Here we go.
Welcome to another Pro Audio Suite, thanks to TriBooth. Don't forget the code TRIPAP200. That will get you a $200 discount on your TriBooth. And Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Well, the day has arrived.
Shall I start winding up the clock? Hang on. Wind. Wind the clock. Tick-tock,
I think you should wind the clock.
Yeah.
The shop door is open as of now for your... I feel better for that, I've got to tell you.
I don't have that on one of my pads over here.
No.
That's good.
It's a bit stinky in here now, I can tell you.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much.
We've talked about it for long enough.
We have, and it's finally here.
It's out there.
The PASport VO is now for sale. All you have to do is follow the link below. I'm pointing my finger below. In the show notes, you'll see a link which will take you to the shop at Centrance to buy and order your PASport VO.
Or if you want to go the long way around, go via our website, theproaudiosuite.com, and you'll find a link there that will point you to the right place too if you not so tech savvy and can't find your show notes.
Can we actually talk about it now? And like all the top secret
I hope
stuff
so.
is now not top secret?
It's all out there.
Sweet.
Well, we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks.
I was going to say.
I don't think we've held much back. But before we do actually talk about it, we should say there's only going to be 100 units for sale. Mm-hmm. And if you buy your unit in the first 2 weeks, the first 20 people to buy will get a free carry case, which is perfect for taking it with you on the road.
Like it's a little watertight plastic case, which resembles an otter box, if anybody knows what an otter box
or a pelican
looks
kind
like.
of thing. That kind of thing. Yeah.
So if you're in a plane crash, you might not survive, but your PASport VO will.
Exactly.
We'll pick it
Bobbing along in the ocean, floating up onto the nearest shore.
It's literally a black box, actually.
Yeah, the black box.
Yes. We didn't find the real black box, but we found this other black box.
We found the black box we care about. All right, thank you.
We just
There's only
realized
100 of these, by the way.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, apart from the 20 cases that will come with it, if you're in the first 20, we also have some other prizes.
We've got some swag.
Some good stuff, actually. I think this is impressive stuff here.
Okay, Robert. So what are you offering in this giveaway?
I am providing a half-hour consultation call, discuss anything you need, tune up your system, your workstation, set up a workflow for you, get you set up with Source Connect. I might know a few things about that one. Whatever I can do for you in a half hour.
Yeah, beautiful. Nice. And George?
Well, I've decided to give away a few things. First of all is a half hour of my time as well, just like Robert. So anything you can glean from me, technology-wise, acoustics, everything else that I know, you get 30 minutes with me one-on-one on Zoom or any kind of remote platform. Then you'll also be able to select 3 webinars that are either already in the library or are coming. So, for example, in April, we've got 2 webinars in the queue, Reaper for Beginners and Reaper Advanced. So you could get one of those or both.
Oh, nice.
So that's going to be part of the prize. And then the last part of my prize pack will be a 3-pack of effects processing presets. So for those of you who have to self-produce or create auditions that sound finished, this is going to be an easy way to get that happening on the recording software of your choice. So whatever you record on, you'll have the settings you need to succeed. So that's my George the Tech prize pack.
Beautiful.
Just shy of $700.
Nice.
All right, just to compete, I'm going to just say that the call will probably end up going longer than a half hour.
I can guarantee.
Yes, we guarantee that.
Robert's
for sure.
call will go more than a half hour.
I was going to say it'll take Robert half an hour just to say hi.
He's very generous with his time. Very generous.
Just to give you an idea to anyone listening, we normally talk for about 45 minutes before we start actually recording.
It's mostly Robert.
That's true.
Yeah, mostly Robert.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the club, whoever wins that one.
Yeah. Robbo, what have you got in the money bag?
Look, I'm starting up a new service, so I kind of figured a nice way, a bit of synergy with that would be to spend some time with whoever wins this prize and get to know them and their voice, and maybe put together a new voiceover demo for them for nothing.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, I thought that might be a good one. Yeah.
And I shall lend my ears on that session as well.
You shall. That would be you and
So
me.
we'll have, what would that'd be about 80 years of experience in one session.
Well, 35 here, so whatever is on your side.
45 here.
There you go. 80 years of recording and talking bullshit. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
A full demo. Wow.
Well, yeah, we'll write some scripts and we'll spend an hour recording some takes and stuff, and then I'll chuck it all together. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Nice
That is-
prize. And the value of that is?
Man.
Well, about $2,000, I would think.
I would have to throw in a lot of extra hours. Not competing.
You will anyway, Robert. We know that. We know that. All right, so on to the PASport VO. We should run through some of the features that is on offer.
There's a lot here. Like the first one I can think of that's not on any other interface is the mic select. So it's kind of like a gold digger, is it, George? Or which is the one that lets you switch between microphones? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, just a simple, easy to use mechanical switch that lets you choose between two inputs and decide which one you're going to record.
Yeah.
This is a thing that should be a simple, no-brainer solution to any home studio that really just needs to record one thing at a time, which is really what voiceover actors do.
Yep.
Is record one thing at a time. And it just doesn't exist elsewhere. So we decided to put that in.
They might
That
have
was
like a 416 and a TLM 103 or something.
Yep.
Two
Right.
different mics.
Yeah.
common combination, a large diaphragm and a shotgun. And now you can just have each one of them set to the gain that you want, and have them set correctly for you. And then just with a press of a button, there will be gain, you can gain match them so they're exactly the same level. And just press a button and choose which one you're hearing, which one you're feeding, which one you're recording.
Yeah. It's a great idea. So simple.
So then we can jump to the next feature in there, which is following that second channel. There's a few things you can do with it that
Yeah.
are pretty useful. So there's a switch on the back.
Right, because that button is to select what goes into channel 1 or channel left, if you want to call it left.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are allowing you to choose what goes to the channel 2 or the right channel. Because most of us, when we're recording, we don't need a stereo track. But with this unit, we thought, what could we do with that right channel? That would be useful. So,
Well, the first
Robert,
one is
take it away.
12 dB down, which, as far as I'm concerned, is pure genius from Robert. So it's that first mic input. Am I right?
It's the selected mic input, actually, not the first. It's
Right,
whichever mic is
you've
selected.
selected from the front panel. That one will feed channel 2 at a minus 12 dB pad, right? So you'll have that extra bit of headroom if you get extremely overzealous on a record, and you don't want to lose that take. You will have a safety track.
Yeah. So on the switch on the bottom, which is what we're talking about in the right side, or the input 2.
Basically, the best way to explain it is left position is the pad, middle position is your recording mic input 2. So that would be for stereo recording or dual mic recording, something that very few will probably need to do. But we just thought, why not make it possible?
Well, if someone needs to record both their TLM 103 and their 416, and they're not sure
In
which one
one
the client
pass.
wants,
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
any
something
type of
you can do.
ADR thing too would be
Right.
that would be very useful.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that third position it's what's called the rec channel 2 or record channel 2 source switch. This will be the switch that will need the most explanation, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. The third position is comms, which means now channel 2's recording track can be what comes back from the director or your coach or your guest. Yeah, and that's where things get really interesting.
Unique feature, this whole thing.
Right.
This is a dual USB audio interface. It is 2 interfaces in one. And the intention here is that you've got one for your computer or whatever you're using to record yourself as a backup, and you have the other one that you can use to communicate with your clients, however it is that you communicate with them. I might have a bias there. So you can plug these both into the same computer. This gives you the ability to remove any conflicts with programs using the same audio interface at the same time. So it removes that with a sure way to get around it. No drivers, no trouble like that. Just 2 interfaces. One program, the backup program, gets the record interface. The communications program, input, output, gets the comms interface. And so what this switch does is it selects the comms return as what you're recording on channel 2. And why that's useful is if you wanted to record an interview or you wanted to record the direction from your clients as things were happening, so you could review that later. For whatever reason, that would be the third use of the second channel or channel 2 record.
Nice.
That what now makes this unit act as a podcaster's friend as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're a voice actor who also hosts a podcast, which I know many of you do, this will make it much easier for you to record those remote interviews on no matter what platform is being used. It's going to be just built right in. So
because unlike loopback features, it allows you to do this without causing a loop back to the person that you're connected with. Sometimes the various ways loopback is implemented isn't as easy to set up as you would like.
Yeah, that we also in the radio biz call that a mix minus.
Yeah.
And the fact that this unit has several mix minuses pre-built for you makes it one of the things it's one of the reasons it is so darn simple to do what are normally considered somewhat complex things. And we're really happy about that. That mix minus, there's a couple mix minuses. So a mix minus is basically a mix minus something, right? So a mix minus means that you're making sure that what comes back doesn't get sent back to that person, right? Super important for all this remote
You're sending that person
production.
everything except for or minus themselves.
Exactly, a mix minus, right. So we've set up a couple of them. We have them for comms, we have it for the record side, and we also have one that's dedicated to the speakers or the monitors, so that we're not sending a mix of what comes into your mic inputs to your speakers. So you don't have to do the speaker mute dance every time you hit record or turn up a mic and worry about feeding back. The mics will not feed the speakers. So that's just predetermined and taken care of for you. And that's really the way almost everybody...
But they do feed your headphones.
But they do feed your headphones. That's
the
right.
mic does feed your headphone, and you have a blend knob for that.
That's correct. And for those of you saying, well, wait a minute, I do want to feed a speaker with my microphone for some reason. Well, yes, you can do that too, because there is an aux out jack that can be used to feed what goes to headphones to another speaker. Let's say you've got a little Bluetooth speaker or a secondary monitor or anything else, even a secondary headphone amp. Now you have a second place to feed that. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I think it's most useful as a second headphone amp when that's put in the headphone position. So you can have it in your control room or outside your booth, and then you can feed that to a second headphone preamp inside your booth.
Yeah, which is definitely how I would use it for sure. Yeah.
A lot of voice actors do coaching as well, I've found out. Having working with a lot of voice actors, they do want that ability to have an easy way to facilitate that, and this will also make that much easier on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So some other nice stuff is there's a specific mic mute button and a speaker mute button as well, in case you need to mute them all together, like everything, not just the microphone going through the speaker.
Separate 48s and high pass?
Yep.
Independently switched for each input.
Yep. Yeah.
That's right.
Which is a great idea. So, and a power switch.
You can use this with a mobile device and use either the communications or the record side as your interface and power the unit with either USB interface.
Jeff Berlin, we're talking to you.
It's got two USB-C ports, right?
Yeah.
So to your computer, it's like having two interfaces. And if it's two computers, no problem. You can have one computer for your voice work. You can have another computer for, heck, if you're a live streamer, the other computer can be for gaming, like a PC. You could also have it be one Mac and one iPhone, or one Mac and one Android. Whatever combination you need to use, this thing's going to handle it, no problem.
So effectively, you could be recording in your home studio using it as your phone interface, right? So you could plug your iPhone in and have your client on the phone and do your session.
Yes.
Yeah.
That could be your comms. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is something that some of my clients are still really wanting. They still want to have a normal, we call it POTS, POTS, plain old telephone.
Yep.
And nobody really has a landline at home anymore, but they want to use their iPhone for that.
Go.
And
now
the client wants to dial a telephone.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. I still have people on ISDN because it makes the best phone patch.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I know, it's true. It's
It
true.
really was
well, this
the
is going to
best
make
one. Yeah.
this is going to make a damn good phone patch, because when you use an iPhone or any smartphone as a phone patch, you know there's something called side tone. Side tone is when you speak. Remember landlines when you'd speak into the handset and you could hear yourself,
Especially
in
on a
the
long
earset?
distance call.
Yeah.
And you'd hear an echo.
Yep.
Well, even not even an echo. There's something called side tone, and that is when you talk into a handheld phone, not a handheld phone, a standard. What do you call it? A landline phone?
Landline phone, yeah.
Nobody has them
like
anymore.
an analog phone, and
But
it
yeah.
would suppress the other voice.
Right. It
would
was called a
suppress
side tone, and
right.
you could hear yourself. It was literally a monitor. We're so used to not having this anymore that we don't even think about it. But back in the day, when you made a phone call with a landline phone, you picked up the handset, you heard a dial tone. As soon as you started speaking, you could hear your voice in your ear. So you could literally monitor yourself. You could hear yourself. That's called the side tone. Well, that made it really a pain in the neck to do a clean phone patch, because that side tone was mixed in. And that caused like a loop back or slight echo or distortion. But now when you plug a smartphone in, there is no side tone. You don't have to worry about it. And it does make an incredibly good phone patch, whether you're on an iPhone phone call or whether you're just doing some kind of other communications thing like a Zoom. It'll work on a mobile phone. So you just have so many ways to do it.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to find their favorite.
So there's one other feature, which is on your communications feed, you can decide if you're only going to send your microphone or if you're going to send what you're monitoring. So for instance, if you're listening to music or some sort of playback, and while you are voicing this, you can send that headphone mix that you have over to your client so they hear what you hear, or you can send them only your voice, or like only your microphone in the case that you're connected on something more like Source Connect, where they're recording you directly and you don't want anything else getting in that path except for your microphone.
And so you can actually do playback from this unit as well.
Right.
Right. So there's a knob on the top of the unit that determines what you can hear in your cans. We call it the monitor mixing knob.
Yeah.
It's labeled mic and playback. But if you want to hear more of yourself, you turn it towards the left. If you want to hear more of them, you turn it to the right. And when you play something back, that's also going to determine what gets fed to the comms. So you can also have a control of that. They're like, it sounds a little bit too loud or too quiet. You can just turn that knob and it'll control the playback level to comms.
Or you can set the comms to mic only in case you want to keep it clean. So pretty flexible. Really what it does is it replaces a lot of like setups that were normally sort of customized mixers using like software mixers, or getting a lot of different hardware pieces like, a Gold Digger and a separate hardware mixer probably still. And really you can do all these same workflows now from one place. You can select your microphone, you can control your headphone mix, you can send your mix or just your microphone to your clients. You have no way of getting an echo or feedback loop with your clients because it's two separate interfaces. You can use your second channel to decide very easily what you're going to record, a safety lower volume record of your microphone. Your second microphone is an option, or the clients that you're connected with as a reference of the session. That's just like a bunch of the features there, but that's not even all of it.
Another way you could use the fact that it has two USB interfaces is simply as a safety or a backup. So if you're doing an audiobook, this would be, to me, the audiobook king of an interface, because You could have your main primary record device plugged into record, and you could have a secondary recording device. That could be a phone, or it could be another laptop or something else. And that could be a secondary record just acting as a backup. So if you were to have a bad day, lose a file, corrupt something, have glitches because your computer hard drive is failing or who knows what, you don't lose an hour or more of your time. You don't lose the work. You have a simple backup.
Yeah.
So another way it could be useful.
It has a nice meter too.
It does.
You don't get that
Very
with
nice.
a lot of the interfaces, or if you do, it's only in software.
You don't, and it's labeled. It actually has numbers telling you where you are, and we talked a lot about this meter being there. And
It has a compressor, a little light touch off the top compressor.
yeah, we didn't get
just
to the
2 to 1.
compressor and the high pass filter, but it has a high pass filter. It's 130 hertz, but a 6 dB slope. To those who don't know what that means, it's gradual. Yeah. Yes, it is not an extreme roll-off.
And that way it doesn't have any ringing to it, is the reason why. So it takes a while for it to get to something significant because it's just a single pole.
If you do have a really deep voice, it will not neuter you. It will not take away the bottom octave of the voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there was a lot of thought went into that, and that was chosen by the manufacturer, Centrance, as the appropriate filter. And once we discussed it, we realized, yeah, that seems to make sense.
Yeah. It's got an on-off switch.
And it has an on-off, so you can turn it on and off, and then it has the compressor. Now, anybody who's familiar with the MicPort Pro already is familiar with the limiter. This is the same thing. We just wanted to call it the compressor because that's really what it is, right? It's a
It's
2 to 1. It's really light.
it's a light.
The threshold is at -10.
The beauty of that compressor is, and Robert explained it to me pretty clearly, is like you don't need a threshold control because what you do is if you want more compression, you add more gain. You just simply you just turn up the gain. The higher it goes, the more you compress. You want little compression, turn it down. It's a very easy way to control it.
Yeah.
So it's not really going to be heard as heavy compression in any way. It's a very light ratio.
And also, you did mention the power switch, and I just wanted to reiterate the good thing about the power switches, because there's one thing that really pisses me off about interfaces is when you have to keep unplugging them from your laptop or computer because they just stay on.
But this one will never crash, so you won't have to reboot it, really.
Exactly.
It does not have a complex firmware or anything that should cause it to crash, but if you do need to reinitialize the driver on your computer, you can turn it off without having to unplug the USB cables. And since there are 2, you can use up to 2 cables. It's just, a little bit more convenient to just turn it off.
Got a little mixer built in. You got
that's
control room speakers, control,
it's a
headphone,
lot.
2 microphones, high pass filter, separate 48 volt on both of those. Very light high pass filter that does what it's supposed to and doesn't really affect the sound. Same thing with the compressor. If you want to get a little bit more headroom or just protect in case of a little bit of clipping, maybe it'll help out, but it really won't change the sound that much at all, really.
A couple more things we didn't even mention yet. It's got 1/4-inch TRS balanced inputs that can handle a preamp. So if you want to use your own boutique mic preamp, whatever that is, you can plug it in, not have to worry about clipping the input. It's going to be clean. And that's on both channels. So you have that option. And because we're allowing you to plug it into a smartphone, those phones sometimes don't power the unit. So you can decide which of the 2 USB ports on the unit is the power source. So you can switch between the comms USB or the record as the power source. Most of the time, you won't have to think about it, but if you're plugging into only the record side, you will switch that to the record power side.
Unless you're using it with a mobile device.
Yeah, well, let's say you're going to use this with...
Yeah.
If you're going to use this with only a mobile device, well, there's another answer for that too. You can plug your mobile device into record, and you can plug a USB power bank into comms, and that's now powering the unit. So you're covered, really. Any possible way you can think of using this thing, you're good to go. It does not have an internal battery. Now, this is something that we know is useful in some field use cases, but a lot of people consider that a feature because I've seen people complain about the internal battery on some of the Centrance stuff and I own a couple of them, and I know it's irritating because if that battery dies mid-session, you go down, so you have to have 2 USB cords plugged in anyhow
and
to keep it
you
charged.
got to make sure it has a charge.
So
if not, it might not boot initially.
That's right. So we decided it didn't make sense to have the battery. This is going to be used in professional, not field recording type situations, and so there's no batteries in this. Nothing to charge, nothing to worry about.
I see this as the interface that gets it all done for a basic all the way up to a mid-level studio, like home studio setup for a variety of workflows. And then it travels super easy. It's like it still has all those features, but is mobile compatible, super small, brings all that same feature set with you when you travel.
Exactly. And Andrew mentioned an important point. When you have an internal battery in a product, that battery has a lifespan. And so, 3 to 5, 7 years, that battery could eventually just stop taking a charge. So you don't have to worry about that either because there's not one in there.
The value for me is actually on the road because it means I don't have that stress when you're sitting in a hotel room and having to do a session where someone does want to come in and direct and someone does want you to have playback and someone does want all the other features and you're sitting there with a 2-input with none of these features and you're trying to cobble stuff together to make the thing work. It's just a nightmare. And it puts so much stress on the talent that it affects what you're supposed to be doing, which is actually reading a script, where this takes away that headache, basically.
It really does, and it does it so elegantly. I mean, you can do playback from 2 separate devices from the same device. Because, but maybe what people don't realize is the intention is that you can plug both these interfaces into the same computer. You can plug them into a USB hub and then into one computer if you only have one USB port, or of course, if you have multiple ports in your computer, you can just plug them in, and then you select which interface you're using from your application. Or, of course, if you're using a mobile device or something external, you can still play back from one to the other. So you never have an echoing problem, and you don't have to think about the whole setup.
And maybe we mentioned it already, but this thing is going to be really, really Windows user friendly because the thing that gets people on Windows in trouble so often is driver conflicts, and it's such a pain to manage your drivers on Windows because the whole ASIO driver conflict issue, or you can't maybe have your pro audio software using ASIO while your non-pro audio software, like Zoom, is not using ASIO.
You have to make the interface non-exclusive. You have to go deep into the preferences and the properties and make sure it's non-exclusive. And sometimes it still doesn't work if you don't have the driver for it installed.
Yeah.
But it's a real problem sometimes.
Exactly. There's a very deep, long list of Windows optimizations for doing audio stuff. And that's one of them. And this hopefully will eliminate that issue completely for people. And I know people who are dyed-in-the-wool Windows people, they just will not go Apple. And this is going to be hugely helpful for them.
Yeah.
I know people that use a dedicated USB interface just for doing certain tasks because they don't want to worry about conflicts with their studio setup. So this is intended to fix that as well.
There's also something else we haven't mentioned, which is another thing that I thought was a must, and that is the fact we have LED lights to indicate what's on and what's not on at a glance. So if you're through a session, instead of going, why can't I hear someone, or why is this not working, you just look at the unit and you can see why it's not working, because you'll see there's either a light on saying it's active or there's a light off saying it's not active. And your mic mute button, if it's red, it's muting, and that's why no one can hear you, and the same with speaker and so on and so forth. So,
no, that's a really important point. And that was another thing that was kind of a late addition to the design.
And it was a battle.
And we had to squeeze that in. This is a compact unit, and fitting more LEDs and more switches into the faceplate was not an easy feat.
Right. Like having to make that one switch, a recessed switch, was we got to do it. It's the only last place it's available. We squeezed every piece of real estate out of this thing, and Michael,
absolutely,
we definitely made him earn it.
Yes, we did.
No doubt about it. But when the mic is muted, you get a red light, it's muted. When the speakers are muted, you get a bright red light, the speakers are muted. To choose which mic is lit, you're going to have a bright white light showing you which of the 2 mics is active. And I think all of that will just make this unit really easy to use at a glance. I know the SSL too, a few of us have used. The buttons on it they work fine, but it's very hard to tell which position they're in.
It is.
All they did was light up the 4K button with a big bright LED because that's their party trick, I guess, We're SSL, we have 4K. But, they forgot to light up the other buttons or have lights so they're really hard to tell what position they're in. So I don't remember which of you guys, maybe it was you, Andrew, that mentioned the lights because that wasn't part of the design.
Yeah, because there's no light on the 48 volt.
Yeah, like Andrew's especially at a disadvantage here because he can only see out of one eye, right?
And that's the one I usually sit on.
Yes, that's
the brown
right.
One.
Yeah. They don't call him Cyclops for nothing. Yeah.
That's right. When I bend over, people say, "Why are you looking at me?"
Don't stare. It's rude to stare.
Stop staring at me.
So I don't know if this is the episode we're going to send everybody when they buy one to learn how to use it. But this certainly gives you a really good idea about the amount of thought, time, energy, and care that went into designing this.
Yeah.
I think you guys will appreciate it very much.
Those are all very nice statements. It got into like arm wrestling and making sure like everyone had a lot of passion that went into this, and there was a lot of discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any of the five of us that didn't make a compromise somewhere along the way with something we wanted.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
That's right.
And also, by the way, we should also mention that the mic mute button actually does mute the mic. Where many don't.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know. We shouldn't have to say this, but I can't tell you how many products where the mic mute button doesn't actually mute the mic.
We should call it
where
the swear
counts.
button.
It mutes it in the speakers, it mutes it in the headphones, but it doesn't mute it going out to Source Connect.
This is like I want to say something about my client that they don't want to hear. Like,
Yeah. Why don't you get fucked?
did you?
Oh my God. It's so true. In fact, some of the mic mute boxes I've actually installed over the years, I found out the hard way that they didn't actually truly mute.
Oh, no.
They
But they don't
dim.
get rid of it
They
completely.
dim a lot, but they dim like 40 to 50 dB. But I'll tell you, in a studio situation, you can hear the guys screaming or whatever,
Yeah.
This effing piece of crap script is...
No, that's
let's
Robert
take another
during
one.
Yes.
So this mic mute will truly mute the mic.
Yeah, there was a discussion where did we want that to be a mic mute or a cough switch?
Yeah.
So I reckon you're right, George. This is probably not the definitive how-to guide, but I reckon the best way to sum this thing up is that it's custom built for voiceover, and no one's done that before, and that's what we've tried to do. Is something that's not for musicians, not for studios, but purely for voiceover artists at home or podcasters who want to be able to do all the stuff we've just talked about.
Yeah, to be empowered without getting all the clutter of all the other features that you don't want.
Yeah. And we've actually, talking of jargon though, we've actually tried to get the naming so simple that anyone will understand what these dials and switches do.
Tell them the price, son.
$699, mate.
699 buckaroos. Yeah.
I don't know what the shipping arrangement will be yet, like shipping international costs, all those things.
Yeah.
We'll have to refer back to Centrance about that because this will be manufactured and directly sold and shipped by Centrance in the Chicago area. So it'll be shipped from the States. And these units are assembled here at their factory in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
That's my understanding.
And because they're quite small, I mean, it's like, it's... What sort of size would you say? Probably
Fits in the palm of your hand.
Yeah. So shipping shouldn't be ridiculously expensive, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
And it also falls...
International shipping will be very reasonable.
For anyone in Australia that wants to buy one, it should fall under the threshold of having to pay some kind of a duty as well.
Yeah, it should too.
Which I think from memory, the duty is anything that's over 1,000 Australian dollars, and this should slide underneath at about...
Oh, good.
About 900 Australian, I'm guessing, roughly, depending on the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
there you go.
That's good news. Glad to hear that.
Did you plan that, Andrew?
No. I just remember getting pinged on something I bought and got bloody taxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for someone like me who is not technical particularly, and in fact, I'm not at all, I could manage this thing with a bit of tuition from George.
Which you'll get too.
That's the idea.
It's just the comms thing. Like, how do you want to treat the comms, essentially?
Yeah.
In my mind, and I don't know what Centrance will be shipping along with it for a manual, I would love to have cards that are labeled for your task. So if you're a voice actor that just wants to record a single mic, there's a card. If you have 2 mics, there's another card, because now you have more options on what to do with the second mic. Mm-hmm. If you're a podcaster, there might be another card. That's what I'd like to see. I can't guarantee it. But if that's not what we get as a manual, then we can implement that on the website. We can have that there. We can have a very easy to follow user guide.
Or there might be some episodes.
There might be some coverage.
Yes.
There will be.
I'm guessing George will be making a video or 2. Yes.
There could be some George vids.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. But it's kind of handy to have a QR code on each of the cards that you just click on to go to a video.
Oh, see, now you're thinking.
Well, that's not a bad idea. We can talk to Michael about that.
Did we ever logo on it finally, or is it just the name?
Just the name.
Just the name. We couldn't fit it. Damn it.
It is the Pro Audio Suite Port VO.
Mm-hmm. PASport Pro. Exactly.
Good name. I like it.
And there's only 100 to grab, so grab them quickly.
Yeah, 100 to grab. Get in there in the first 100. If you do it in the first 2 weeks, you're in the running for not only if you're in the first 20, you get the free case, but if you're in the first 100 in the first 2 weeks, then you're in the running for those fabulous prizes.
Ooh, and that's the other thing we should explain too. The earlier you buy it, the more chances. So if you buy on the first day, if you buy today, you get 14 entries. If you buy tomorrow, you only get 13. The day after, 12, blah, 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 all the way down till we do the draw in 2 weeks' time. So if you definitely want one, go grab it now.
Yeah, grab it now. And you never know, you could win a big prize.
Indeed.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to TriBooth and Austrian Audio. Recorded using Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Voodoo Radio Imaging. With tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, theproaudiosuite.com.